dq over dv. Yes, rho represents the volume charge density. Let's say, let me write it here. This is equation third for sure. Rho represents here volume charge density. For far more you go, you can say dq is equals to rho dv. Yes, you can write it here. This must be says this is equation 1, because this is again an important equation which is been used for the equation 2, but here it is q and here it is dq, because this is the smallest charge element. We will turn this charge element to the whole charge here. So for this whole charge process, we should integrate equation 4. Integrating equation 4 over the volume. Yes, we will integrate integrating so q will be equals to integration over closed surface dq, which is again equals to integration over closed surface rho dv, which is equation 5. So from equation 5 we found out the value of q over there, and we will use this value in equation 2. So using that value in equation 2, what we will end up having from equation 5 and equation 2. Let's say here we will discuss from equation 5 and equation 2. 5 which is equals to integration over closed surface E vector dot dA vector, which is equals to q over epsilon. So you say 1 over epsilon and the value of q from equation 5, which is say integration over closed surface rho dv. Yes, we use the value of phi here. Yes, we have used equation 5 here, and let's say this will become equation 6 over there. Now we will use the Gauss's divergence theorem for this value. Yes, E dot dA, which represents the surface integral of electric field, should be replaced with the divergence of electric field using the Gauss's divergence theorem. This you say equation 6. So now let me say using Gauss's divergence theorem, G should be written in capital because it is a name, and always a name should be written in capital. Uses Gauss's divergence theorem, E dot dA, which is equals to integration over closed surface del dot E dV. Let's say this is equation 7. So now from equation 6 and equation 7, what result we end up having? From equation 6 and equation 7, we will have integration of over closed surface del dot E dV, which is equals to this value, integration over closed surface rho dV. We will cancel out dV for both the sides, and the surface integral will also be cancelled. This has rho over epsilon. Yes, 1 over epsilon is also considered here. This will have rho over epsilon. So we will cancel out dv with dv, and the surface integral will also cancel each other. So what we will end up, we will end up having the Gauss's law in differential form. What will the value will be? This will equals to del dot E vector will be equals to rho over epsilon, and this is the result what we are waiting for or what we are looking for. So this explains the Gauss's law in differential form, which is del dot E, the divergence of vector field, the divergence of electric field vector or the electric field intensity or instance intensity of electric field will equals to the volume charge 1 over epsilon times of the volume charge density. So this is what we are expecting for. Okay, so this is the result here. How will you state this result? This result is been stated the Gauss's law in differential form. In the differential form of Gauss's law, we define divergence of electric field or intensity of electric field or the electric field intensity will be equals to 1 over epsilon time of the volume charge density or the total volume charge density rho. So this is what we will define. This is again, what does this equals to? We have talking about this will approach one of the Maxwell equations. Yes, this will approach the Maxwell equations. This is one of the Maxwell equation. Which equation? And certainly this is equation 3rd, which say the divergence of E, del dot E is equals to rho over epsilon, or in sense it may be written as epsilon naught if the medium is vacuum, or in sense there is no medium if there is no medium. You can take a screenshot for your reference, and then we will proceed further with the new topic. Hope that you are done with the screenshot. So just proceed further with a new topic, which will be also the same kind of entertaining as which these topics were. So let's begin with this topic. Again, let me clear out the board. Okay, so we come up with the last topic, certainly the last one, because again the last topic remains was a theoretical topic, but there is a literal mathematical topic remains, which is also in sense you can say the vector identity again. Which kind of vector identity it is, it will approach to you. The vector identity saying like as the Stokes-Curl theorem, which is again gives you an experimental behavior for the curl behavior, which is the surface integral, I mean the volume integral will approach to the line integral. See how it will happen. So the heading is the Stokes-Curl theorem. We will talk about we will talk about the Stokes-Curl theorem. Before starting the Stokes theorem, let me remind you that the Stokes-Curl theorem always approaches to a line integral, because every time in sense of curl we take in consider all the circumference bases over there. Okay, let's begin with the topic. Let's say there is a surface which is covered by certain, yes, let's say this is a surface, yes, this has a surface, you can see pretty much well. Okay, that's good if you have a clear eyesight. Let's say there are some paths, I am designing some paths here, or in short these are the rooms. That's not should be termed as path, but they should be termed as the room or as the free space where the constituent particles of atom, constituent particles we say like as the electron, proton, neutron and such kind of particles which can roam freely here. Let me design all the rooms. Okay, here all the rooms here. Okay, so we have some rooms here. So these are the rooms, and these will follow some certain paths, some paths like as let me design. There is a path saying KLMN is a path. KLMN. These are the constituent particles, certainly KLMN are the constituent particles. Let's say all these particles will roam in an anti-clockwise direction. Keep in mind the direction which we are talking about is the anti-clockwise direction. Yes, the anti-clockwise direction. Let me say the direction is in such a way. Yes, these are the directional vectors. Okay. So these are the directional vectors which represents the space for where the constituent particles will move, and these represents these all surfaces will move in anti-clockwise direction. Let me remind you by writing it on the surface, saying these all will follow anti-clockwise direction. Yes, these all will follow the anti-clockwise direction here. Since all these atoms will follow anti-clockwise direction, then if you can consider for the path K to L, yes, an atom which is following the path K to L and the atom which is following the path L to K will have different direction for their line integral. What does line integral represent? Line integral represents the path which is followed by a vector traveling from one point to another. So we have points namely K, L, M, and these are the points which a vector will follow to travel their distance. So the path K to L will have a different direction than the path which is followed by the constituent particle L to K. Let me write it mathematically, you will understand it far more better when seeing an line integral over there. Line integral for a closed loop or a closed circumference which is for A dot dl and the direction which is, say this follows the direction K to L. This is the constituent particle which is following the direction K to L, and the whole boundary should be considered as C. This is the total curve, the total circumference you can say. Okay, will equals to negative of the path followed by traveling the distance L to K, the same vector quantity. This is, you say, equation 1, except paths followed at the circumferences. Okay, these all the paths which are followed have this kind of nature, except all those particles which will follow their path on the circumference. The particles which are inside this particular surface will follow this rule. Then that of, if a particle which is traveling here certainly have some different direction, certainly have some different position vectors. If you talk about here, the law fails certainly sometimes because there is not a perfect path here, and we cannot direct and constituent particles in a particular direction. We cannot say that if it is following the clockwise manner, or in case if it is following an anti-clockwise manner. So let's begin with the calculus. Keep in mind this equation and we will proceed further for this equation. Okay, if this equation is true, then the path k to L followed by the same vector a dot dl, this is negative, I can put it here, L to k a vector dot dl vector, this will equals to 0. Yes, this will approach to 0. You can certainly say this is equation 2. This is the simple mathematical calculus. I don't think so that if I need to explain anything else. Okay, so certainly I can explain one thing, that the path followed by the particle which is following the path k to L will cancel out the effect of the particle which is following the path opposite to this, which is the path Lk. You can understand it like this: a particle which is following the path k to L will cancel all the effects which is been produced by a particle which is following the path L to k. This is what it states. The equation 2 states this, and you will end up having resultant equals to 0. Okay, so let's proceed. This is for a single particle, and when we are talking about a bunch of particles, yes, there are a lot of particles even within this volume, and they certainly have a vector amount and certainly have a vector quantity associated with them. So let's see what we can have. This is a vector dot dl vector, a vector dot dl vector. Well, that's not pretty much uses here. We do not have any kind of uses here, uses of those equations. Equation 1 and 2 has no uses far more. If there are infinitesimal number of paths, infinitesimal number of paths for a vector quantity, for a particular, yes, vector quantity. By considering the word particular, we can more precisely explain our thoughts here, what we are supposed to talk in right now here. Yes, you can say the whole curve integral for a vector dot dl vector can be written in terms of infinitesimal path elements or infinitesimal line elements. Infinitesimal number of paths, or you can say infinitesimal length elements, yeah, line elements for sure, line elements. You can say anything from those, the infinite number of paths or the infinite line elements. Summation over all the paths, okay, summation over all the paths C. Let's say the line element which is following the path DC, certainly this is the line element DC, and again this is a vector dot dl vector. This is again closed a vector dot dl vector. Okay, we end up having this. This explains that the vector quantity is in case of all the infinitesimal number of quantities over there. So what if you remember the definition of curl? Do you remember the definition of curl? We define according to the definition of the curl. According to the definition of the curl, yes, this you say equation 3. According to the definition of curl, if you want to know the curl of a vector field, you should switch to lecture 4th of our series, and then you will find out curl of a vector field. And if you wish to know how to calculate curl and how to find out curl of a vector field, then you should switch to lecture 7th of our series, where we have discussed far more about the curl, the divergence and the gradient of all the fields, saying gradient of scalar fields, and the divergence and curl of vector fields. Okay, Let's get back to the topic. According to the definition of the curl of A vector will equals to limit dA approaches to 0 1 over dA, yes, 1 over dA, a closed integral for A vector dot dl vector. So this is it. This definition can be improved. This definition can be improved in a way saying that integration of a closed loop for a vector quantity A following the path dl will equals to curl of A vector dot the dA there, dA vector. Yes, dA will have a direction here. Certainly it must have a direction, because even the curl have a direction. You can say that this is n cap. There must be a unit vector associated with the curl, because curl is representing a surface, but divergence do not have a direction, because divergence represents the whole volume. So this is the difference between the curl and the divergence. Okay, let's get back to the topic. Proceed our calculus here. This is n cap dA. Yes, this is n cap dA. I think I should write it more precisely, because you are supposed to have screenshots over here. Integration over that closed curve A dot dl vector will equals to curl of A vector dot n cap dA, n cap dot dA vector. This will the quantity becomes, this is what the quantity will become here. Let's say this is equation 4th. Okay, this is equation 4th, and proceed for this equation. Here n cap is the unit vector. N cap is the unit vector perpendicular to the area element here. This is n cap, which is perpendicular to the area element, say the direction towards you or behind the board in sense. Okay, so let's have this equation solved. Solving this equation, we will approach that n cap dA. This do not have a direction here yet, but n cap dot dA as n cap is the unit vector in the direction perpendicular to the surface dA. Thus n cap dot dA will be equals to dA vector, and we will use this value in equation 4. So equation 4 will become integration over closed curve for the quantity A vector representing the area, the line element dl vector, which is equals to curl of A vector dot dA vector. This is equation 5. Okay. Now the curl is again represented in the term of element area, because this is for the whole quantity, dl is for the whole quantity. So we can sum up all these quantities here. So that's why I am using this summation for all the area elements. So summing up all the area elements, because this is a part of that area element, this is not the whole area. So the curl is only for this area element. So we are considering the curl for all the area elements over separated out in this closed loop configuration. So within this closed loop configuration, let's find out what does the summation here. Summation representing all the infinitesimal surface areas, infinitesimal surface area vectors which are representing this direction, yes, which are representing this. So solving for this we will get, let's solve. What do we will get? We will get integration over closed surface A dot dl will equals to if all the area elements are infinitesimal, as you know all the area elements are infinitesimal for sure. So the summation symbol can be replaced with the integration symbol. Yes, let's replace the summation symbol with integration. Curl of A vector, this is the curl of A vector dot dA vector, yes, and this is what the Stokes curl theorem states. This is the statement of Stokes curl theorem, or you can say this is the mathematical statement of Stokes curl theorem. Simply more precisely you can write it as, let me write it here, which is the closed integration for surface, the line integral of any vector quantity over a closed loop is equals to the curl of that same particular quantity. This is representing over a closed surface, the closed surface integration of curl of that same quantity here. So this is the more precise definition of Stokes curl theorem. You can take a screenshot for your reference, then we will clear off and we will write the literal statement of Stokes curl theorem. Hope you are done with the screenshot. If you don't, then go back and take the screenshot. Okay, let me clear this off again. Literally it states that the line integral of a vector field, not a vector quantity but a vector field, the line integral of a vector field over a closed loop is equal to the surface integral of that same quantity of that same quantity, surface integral of curl of that quantity, of surface integral of curl of that particular quantity. So this is the mathematical statement here, and this is what which you are supposed to come out. So when you done with the screenshot, then let me know. I will clear this off, and we will proceed for the last remaining theoretical concept which do not need to be explained in such a way we are explaining right now. We will classify all the vector fields. We have discussed all kind of vector fields. We have discussed the scalar field, we have discussed the vector fields, then we discussed their algebraic expressions like the gradient, the divergence or the curl, and then we discussed all their identities, how the divergence or the curl are related to each other, and also we have discussed everything such kind of theorem, saying the Gauss's divergence theorem, the most important theorem of electrodynamics, and the Stokes-Curl theorem, which is again the most important theorem. When we will be in the chapter saying the Faraday's law or in the Ampere circuital law, then we will need all these short expressions which we end up here. We will need them. So let me clear this off again, and we will talk our last remaining topic, which is the classification of vector fields. Well, this is not important according to your exam point of view. If you don't wish to spend your time here, so you can skip this part of the video. Okay, so we will classify all the vector fields. Classification of vector fields. Okay, so we will classify our vector fields, saying how will we classify them? We will classify them step by step, saying that if you have a vector field, first of all let's discuss that. First of all, it is saying that when divergence of a vector approaches to 0, then the vector is termed as solenoidal vector. Yes, it will be a solenoidal vector because the amount of flux emerging out of the surface is 0. That's why divergence will be 0. So why does this particular vector field, for this particular vector field the divergence will approach to 0? That divergence will approach to 0 just because, let's see how it will how this will approaches to 0. Let's say, if you remember the vector identity saying that divergence of gradient of some kind of function will equals to 0. You say divergence of gradient of phi will approach to 0. So simply you can say that a vector certainly be equals to gradient of some quantity, and for this quantity you can say del dot del phi equals to 0, and simply you can say del square phi will approach to 0, and this kind of vector is called solenoidal vector. Yes, this will again a solenoidal vector. Solenoidal vector is the vector for which the value of divergence of that particular vector field is approaches to 0. And this equation, what does this equation is called? This equation is called Laplace equation. This equation is called Laplace equation, and this operator del square is called Laplace operator. Operator del square is called Laplace operator, whose values is equal to curly square over curly x square plus curly square over curly y square plus curly square over curly z square. So this is the Laplacian operator. Okay, let's proceed further for the next example. If the curl of a vector field is equal to 0, this is for the divergence. So what if the curl of a vector field is equal to 0? What if curl of a vector field is equal to 0? The vector is termed as irrotational vector. irrotational vector. When the curl is equals to 0, it means the vector will not rotate with respect to them. Vector will not rotate here because this is the irrotational vector. So how we come up with this kind of results? When does the curl will be equals to 0? Saying that a vector is what if a vector is equals to gradient of I, that could be a case because if you remember the vector identities, then it is far more easy for you, and if you don't, then please switch to the lecture 6th, in which switch to the lecture 6th and lecture 7th, in which we discussed all the vector identities there, or the vector algebra identities which we are talking about. If the gradient, if a is equals to gradient of phi, then curl should be 0, because every time the curl of a vector will equals to curl of gradient of phi will equal to 0. But what if the divergence of A is non-zero? Because divergence is 0 only when if the A vector is should be a scalar quantity. It could be a scalar field, sorry, not a scalar field, but could be a scalar of gradient of a scalar field. But what if divergence of A is non-zero? When the divergence of A is non-zero, then this case could not possible, because divergence is 0 only when if the vector is supposed to be a gradient of a scalar field, as it is not the gradient of scalar field. So how will you define it? Saying that you can say that the divergence will equals to the negative of the vector field. Yes, you can say del of minus del phi. Del phi in the sense electric field. In case of electric field, it should be represented as the potential function, and the potential should not be 0 there. So this would equals to minus del square phi, and then it will approach to 0. Okay. Sorry, then it should not approach to 0, because according to the Gauss's law, it would approach to rho over epsilon. So this is the second type of vector. So specifying the third type of vector field, for which, as this equation is termed as Laplace equation, and this equation is also called, Poisson equation. Poisson in short, you can say Poisson equation or the Poisson equation. It was not a certain kind of Poisson that you have. No, this is not that kind of Poisson. It was a scientist whose surname was Poisson, and that's why it is termed in the same sense. It is termed as the Poisson equation, who derived out this. If for any vector the curl of a vector is non-zero but divergence is 0, what if curl of a vector is non-zero but divergence of a vector is 0? What does that statement means? That statement means that the field is curly or rotational but solenoidal. Remember, if there is no rotation, sorry, but if there is rotation but the field is solenoidal, magnetic field B has such kind of example. Magnetic field is that it means that the vector has rotation but is a sinusoidal vector. Yes, so it means it is a sinusoidal vector. So, and magnetic field is the example of this. For the magnetic field, you see del dot B is equal to 0, but del cross B will equals to mu naught and J. J represents the magnetic field density. J is the magnetic field density. This is for bound charge and free charge. where J is sum of the conduction and the displacement charges. J can be written as, you can say that for J, del cross B can be written as mu naught JC plus JD, where JC shows the conduction charges, JC shows conduction charge density, and JD shows displacement charge density. Okay, this will show the conduction charge density and the displacement charge density there. Okay. So what if the curl and divergence both are non-zero? So this is the last remaining type of vector field. When the curl of A vector is non-zero and the divergence of A vector is also non-zero, it means that the vector field you are talking right now is not a sinusoidal vector, but nor irrotational vector, because it possesses rotation, but as well as it has amount of flux emerging out or entering in for this kind of fields, or for this kind of surface, or in this kind of volume elements. Okay, the example for this is the electric field and the magnetic field both. Yes, because the electric field E is equal to minus gradient of potential function phi. Okay, that's true. And magnetic field B is equals to curl of a certain elements. Curl of A vector. Okay, so these two are the most precise examples which explains all kind of vector fields where phi is electric potential, because electric potential is a scalar quantity, but A vector represents magnetic vector potential. This is what A vector represents. A vector represents the magnetic vector potential. Okay, because magnetic vector potential is a vector quantity, or shows the nature as such kind of the vector fields. Let me be aside. You can take a screenshot for your reference if you wish to. Okay, so this is all for today, and thank you for watching this video. Hope you learned a lot more things within this video, and if you wish to watch these kind of videos again and again, and so that improving your knowledge, then consider to subscribing this channel and give a thumbs up to this video if you learned something new from here. You maybe dislike of your own, but share this video with your friends so that they can get a knowledge as much as you are. And if you don't wish to share the knowledge, convey to yourself, then it is your choice, it is up to you. So again, thank you for watching this video. Have a great day and happy learning. This is Raghavendra signing off.